I will tell you that you have to be strong to be able to ask for help, because you have to know that you've hit your limit and you need help. And there's nothing wrong with that. Welcome to Hey Charles. My name is Charles Ernst, and today we're going to be talking about how to keep pushing after burnout. So this episode is a little difficult for me to share, but I think to be vulnerable is important. I want to share something I went through a few years ago. It was one of the most challenging times for me and my business. It was a period of time when everything felt like it was literally falling apart in my head. This experience, even though it was extremely difficult for me and my family, ultimately taught me resilience in the face of challenges. Hopefully, by listening to my story, this might help you. I hope you're going to be encouraged to know that even during dark times, people can bounce back and become stronger than they were before. So this all happened during the lockdown. I know it was a crazy time for everyone, but for someone who always has been driven on the go, that sudden halt was a major blow to me. Our business had been on a steady upward growth trajectory, and it was growing year after year, and now everything just stopped. The concept of slowing down for me and taking a breath, it was entirely foreign to me. I know that that probably happens to you when something unexpected happens or it's something that you're not used to. But when it happened to me, it really took a lot out of me. It really took a toll on me. It was something that I had never seen in myself. And quite frankly, it's something I hope I never get to see again. But in the early days of building my business, I was so much of a workaholic, and my success was paramount. Because remember, I didn't want to depend on anybody else. I just wanted to be able to depend on me. And I was willing to do whatever it took. 16-hour days, didn't matter if I had to do a 12-hour round trip for meetings. It didn't matter to me. I'd just get it done because I was so focused on building my business so I didn't have to rely on other people that when everything came to a standstill and stopped, my system, it couldn't handle it. I didn't even know how to function. Most people, they were saying, hey, this is an opportunity for you to relax. Take a breather. It's okay. But for me, it was madness. Sleep, something I had never really prioritized anyway, it started becoming a major issue. It started slowly. So I started to wake up in the middle of the night, right? Worried, freaking out a little bit. Just my mind wouldn't stop going. It was just spinning. And I'd struggle to fall back asleep. It was really, really hard. Then it was only being able to sleep for a few hours a night, right? So I went from waking up in the middle of the night and eventually getting back to sleep to only sleeping a few hours a night, and then no sleep at all. Total insomnia. I lost my mind. The stress, pivoting the business during this chaotic time, it only made the problem worse. The situation got even more dire. It didn't take long after that. I had a friend that had been checking in with me on a daily basis just to see how I was doing, say to me, man, I think you're heading down a really dark path and you're crossing over. I didn't even really know what that meant. But I know that he had had a close family member experience something similar and went through a really dark time, but he just kept saying it. I think you're crossed over. And I didn't really understand what that meant. But soon I started to understand it a little bit more. The thoughts in my head became so irrational, filled with the worst case scenarios. There was no reasoning with me. People couldn't reason with me. I couldn't even reason with myself. Nothing made sense. My family was extremely worried. I was in a very dark place, both personally and professionally. And it was a really scary time for me. And thank God I was able to get through it. Looking back, the lack of sleep was the major factor that started the spiral. That's when I started to cross over. I should have prioritized it more, and I realize now that I wouldn't have gone so far if I'd got that under control early. So one thing I just want to stress while I'm continuing the story is that if you're having problems sleeping, you need to address that right away. It's something that you just don't take lightly and think it's going to get better, because at least for me, it didn't. So I've spent a lot of time researching this, and there is a direct correlation between lack of sleep and mental health issues. But this was really the start, not getting any sleep, of going down that dark path. So I went to doctors, counselors, anything to try to get some sleep, but the underlying stress built up over the years, pushing myself to the limit, it just wouldn't let go. That constant pressure to grow hit my numbers. It all came crashing down. And sleep, it really became impossible. I just couldn't sleep. I didn't know how important sleep was, but it crippled me. I was crippled by anxiety. I was crippled by depression. There were days that I couldn't get out of bed. This was a really hard time for my wife and family to watch. This was the first time they literally had ever seen me like this. I was always that go, go, go. Let's get it done. Everything's gonna be okay. We'll just make it work. And now I was this guy just laying in bed, didn't want to talk to anybody, didn't want to do anything, just sitting there in my head, hours and hours and hours. If you go down that path and you find yourself not sleeping, it's really time to act. Get help. Address the sleep issue quickly. You don't want to go down that path because once you do, it's a long road back. The crazy thing is most people during this time didn't really understand it. They didn't really understand who I was, and it was really surprising to them that I was acting like this. We would have conversations and they were like, what is wrong with you? Like they were trying to be helpful, but it almost made it worse because I knew that they didn't know that it was almost like they didn't even know who I was anymore. But thankfully, I had a strong support system in my church. But the reality for me, in my mind, was the world was ending. I didn't know what to do with myself. Nothing made sense anymore. I was losing my grip on reality. I couldn't cope, and the only thing that would calm me down for whatever reason was watching a show on Netflix that used to be on until 2019 and giving it some thought. Maybe it was because it was a reminder of what the world used to be like, and I really don't know. Here I was, this go-getter, type A personality, completely out of sorts. It was a real wake-up call for me. I'd pushed myself to the limit and I'd crossed over. Thankfully, I had a strong support system. I had my church, I had friends, and I had family, but asking for help was the hardest part. I had always seen myself as the leader, the driver, the one everyone relied on. And here I was, completely vulnerable and helpless. But I knew I had to pick myself up, and the only way to do that was to ask for help. I know some of you have been in that place where you're afraid to ask someone for help because you think they're going to think you're weak. But I will tell you that you have to be strong to be able to ask for help, because you have to know that you've hit your limit and you need help. And there's nothing wrong with that. So don't be afraid to ask for help. The fear of failing my family, my business, my employees, it was just so overwhelming. But I'll tell you this, you really learn who your friends are in these moments. I was amazed at the outpouring of support and will never forget those people who were there for us. And that day, they were there day in and day out through this whole difficult time. Despite the challenges, I sought professional help. It was through telehealth at the time, and it took a while at first, and it took a lot of time for the treatment to start helping, but it will work. I went through so many days thinking, this isn't working, but slowly, and especially having my friends and family around me, it really made a huge difference because they were able to tell me that things were getting better, even though I couldn't see it myself. And I don't know if you've ever been in that place where you can't see something right in front of you, but it's always good to have someone tell you that you're being hard on yourself, or if something is not what you think it is, it's always good to be able to have somebody to tell you what's really going on. And it was a relief, actually, not to have all the answers for once, not to feel like I had to be a superhero. During this difficult time, I really learned to lean on others. So we didn't really disclose everything to my team, but we let them know we needed help. Responsibilities were redistributed, and it was really amazing to see the team flourish during this time. Slowly, over 4 or 5 months, I recovered. It was a humbling experience, and it taught me the importance of vulnerability and having a strong support system. I got through it, but the key takeaway is to learn from these experiences. The moment of vulnerability ultimately made me stronger. While it wasn't a pleasant experience, it's part of who I am today. Now I emphasize the importance of self-care and work-life balance. So if you're somebody that has a type A personality and you just push yourself to the limit, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about how important it is that you take care of yourself. You can't continue to do what you're good at if you don't take care of yourself. So you don't want to get to the point of burnout because, as I said before, it's a long road back. But building a strong team around you is very important. I didn't realize how loyal my team was until that very moment. We came out of it a better company, and I became a better leader and an entrepreneur. Burnout doesn't happen overnight. It's a culmination of many things. Looking back, I realized I needed to fine-tune different aspects of my life. Work life, home life, but really, most importantly, my expectations. My goals were huge and I was pushing myself so hard, but it's okay to be motivated, but there's limits. None of us are indestructible. We can't prioritize our success over our family. No matter what you want to accomplish, you need to put your family first. I learned this lesson the hard way. So I want to share a story about when my mom died. We were very close. So I'm an only child. She called me almost every day. I could set my watch on when she would call me. She was always the one who cared enough to see how my day was going, or if I closed a deal, or whether I even ate something, or did I have dinner. But in 2015, she had been suffering from some abdominal pain, and it was supposed to have been a simple procedure to fix the problem. It didn't go so well, and we lost her. At the time, I was so busy and just too busy to be there for her. Usually, I would have flown out to be there, right by her side, but I was burning the candle at both ends, so focused on my business that I wasn't present. I never thought that the last conversation that I would have with my mom was when I was burned out on the weekend and I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to talk to her. She had called after her procedure and I cut that conversation short. She died the next day. I was blown away. And now I have to live with that. I'll never get that moment back. I can't tell you how sorry I was. I wasn't in the right headspace to have taken the time to talk with my mom. I can never get that moment back. The biggest lesson from this, your family is more important than any business success. I really want to stress the importance of self-care. You don't want to go down this road. So if you're on the brink of burnout and you're not sleeping, that's usually the first sign that you're not sleeping well and you're constantly stressed. Take a breath and reevaluate your situation. You're only going to be stronger if you do that. You'll be a stronger leader, a better business owner, a better family member, and a better you. Here's the thing. I wouldn't go back and change a thing. Everything that was supposed to happen, happened. And from that, I was able to grow stronger. But that doesn't mean you have to go through the same struggle. If you're finding yourself on the edge, here are a few things that I recommend. Prioritize your sleep. It sounds really simple, but it's crucial. Aim for 7 or 8 hours a night. Learn to say no. You don't have to do everything yourself. Delegate your tasks and build a team you can count on and trust. Take breaks. Schedule time for yourself. Relax. Recharge. Focus on your health. Eat healthy foods, exercise regularly, and manage your stress. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Talk to a therapist, counselor, or a mentor. Remember, you're not alone. Many entrepreneurs go through burnout. The key is to recognize the signs early. Take action and learn from your experience. Learn from my experience. If you found this episode helpful, share it with someone who might be struggling. Let's all support each other on this journey. My goal is to help you with the insight that I've learned over the years and give you encouragement that you're not in this alone. Remember to take a moment, take a breath, and take some time for yourself. Thank you for listening to Hey Charles, and don't forget to subscribe and share this episode. You can find me on YouTube at HeyCharlesBiz, and it's HeyCharles77 on Instagram and TikTok. Have a great day. See you later.